Well, now to a major issue, and that is the illegal immigrants flooding our border. You know, the Obama administration vows to send them back, but the United Nations says not so fast. The UN has scheduled a meeting tomorrow on the immigration crisis. And the scenes across the southern parts of our country, well, they have been heartbreaking. Take a look. Mothers and children, and some kids without their parents just seeking a better life here, fleeing the poverty and violence in Central America. Because of all this, UN officials are now pushing to call them refugees, displaced by armed conflict. That could boost the pressure on the U.S. and Mexico to keep them. So what exactly does that mean, and what does the United Nations want? Rick Grenell is a former spokesman for 4 American UN ambassadors. He's a diplomat and a Fox News contributor. Rick, always good to see you. First of all,
Thanks, Eric.
Are they refugees?
Well, first of all, I think whether or not they're refugees is beside the point. Our obligation to refugees is to provide aid. And I would argue that the $400 million that we've provided over the last several weeks and the billions of dollars that we've been giving to Central and South America over the last year is clearly aid. We've been doing our part to try to help the situation down there. What U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power needs to do tomorrow is absolutely say, we are the most generous country. We are providing a ton of aid, and to just recite all of the aid that we are giving, and that should do it. That should be able to push back and say, regardless of whether or not you call them refugees, we are providing substantial aid.
But you know what? In the hallways of the United Nations, they'll say they're fleeing this conflict, you know, and usually think of refugees as being both people, those fleeing communism, repressive regimes, ethnic cleansing, ethnic tribes, this sort of thing. Do they qualify for that, or is there another classification, and is that inappropriate?
Well, I think, some may, most probably don't. And I think what we need to do is really outline the process that we have. The State Department has a very good process that says this is what you need to meet in terms of criteria in order to get some sort of asylum here. And most of these individuals are not going to meet those criteria. But if there are some that do, well, then they should get in line. We have a process, and we can absolutely look at their situation on a case-by-case basis and make that determination. But to somehow just say that all of these people are refugees simply because they want a better way of life, well, the whole world wants a better way of life.
Well, of course, you have to laud people who want a better life and come to this country. But let's take a look at the 1951 UN Refugee Convention definition. It says, quote, a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion is outside the country of his nationality and is unable to, or owing to such fear, is unwilling to avail himself of the protection of that country. So you know what they're going to say? That a lot of these folks, they can't be protected in their countries. They're fearful of armed gangs. They're fearful of the cartels. They're fearful of the violence. Is that enough of a reason to grant them refugee status?
No, not at all. I mean, the fact of the matter is that definition really means that there's 100+ countries that should have their citizens lining up to come to the United States. I mean, it's ridiculous. We have a process. Other countries have a process. We should not be embarrassed, nor should we pretend like what we're trying to do in terms of closing the border is not compassionate. I actually think it is very compassionate to have a process, a legal process that we stick to. And we are willing to be very compassionate, but others have to follow the law.
All right, though. See how this plays out. The meeting at the United Nations comes tomorrow, and just look at these scenes. Sleeping on the floor under those blankets, it really is a humanitarian crisis. Rick, good to see you. Thanks,
Eric.
Jenna?